Good evening and welcome to the runoff candidates forum for the nonpartisan DeKalb Sheriff's race, which is not easy to say, and the Democratic race for the state representative seat 86, District 86. I'm Honey Vandercreek, the president of the Tucker Business Association. Tucker TBA is a membership organization of all local businesses, and our vision is think globally, shop locally. We wanted to give concerned citizens an opportunity for one more information to be given out to the voters themselves. Early voting has already begun, and we know that the runoff election is going to be on August the 11th. And even though early voting has already begun, we know that it is extremely difficult for the candidates in this environment to meet face-to-face with their voters. So we hope that you will find all of this information to be informative and helpful to you in making a decision when you're casting your vote. Both the Tucker Civic Association and the Tucker Business Association would like to thank the candidates for participating this evening and also the volunteers who helped put this Zoom meeting together. Thank you very much. And what I'd like to do now is introduce Albert Still, President of Tucker Civic Association. Albert.
Thank you, Honey. Yes, I am Albert Still, President of Tucker Civic Association. Tucker Civic Association is a nonprofit volunteer organization of residents and business owners in Tucker. We are committed to promoting a healthy, safe, and fun Tucker community, encouraging healthy lifestyles for residents of all ages. Tucker Civic sponsors community service projects and events multiple times during the year. We are pleased to co-sponsor this candidate forum.
Okay, sorry. You have to give me your cue, Albert, otherwise I'll forget where we are. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is I would like to introduce Jonathan Clark, who's going to be our moderator this evening. He is a member and our membership chair for the Tucker Business Association, and Mrs. Mary Still, who is on the board for the Tucker Civic Association, who is going to be our timekeeper this evening. So Jonathan, you're it. Go for it.
Thank you, Honey. I appreciate that, and Honey and Albert for the two organizations putting this on. First, we are going to start off with our Sheriff's Forum, and we will have Melody Maddox and Ruth Stringer as our two candidates, and we will ask questions of these candidates, and we will allow each candidate an opportunity to provide 2 minutes of introduction, 6 questions with 1 minute each to answer the question. We'll alternate candidates as to who gets the questions first, and then a couple of minutes to have closing comments. We would like to note that there will not be an opportunity for audience members and attendees to ask questions. However, we do encourage, if some of the information you'd like to learn is not covered in this meeting or this forum tonight, please reach out to the individual candidates' campaigns and or materials that they have and ask them specific questions. These questions that we have tonight have been generated based on some feedback of both the Tucker Business Association members as well as the Tucker Civic Association members. So with that in mind, Ms. Still, are you ready for our first question so we can start with our timekeeping?
I'm ready.
Excellent. All right. So again, Ms. Maddox, Ms. Stringer, thank you for joining us this evening. The first question is, we'll go with Ms. Maddox first, and then we'll go to Ms. Stringer. So Ms. Maddox, what is your vision for the Sheriff's Department?
My vision for the Sheriff Department, first of all, let me just say thank you so much to the Tucker.
Ms. Maddox, I do apologize, and I am so sorry that I have messed this up already. Please forgive me. Ms. Maddox, you will be given 2 minutes to introduce yourself. I am so sorry about that. I jumped right into questions and I completely messed that up. Please take 2 minutes to introduce yourself, and then Ms. Stringer will get 2 minutes to introduce herself. I do apologize. please take your time and introduce yourself for 2 minutes.
That's no problem at all. First of all, like I said, thank you to the Tucker Civic Association for putting this on. I really appreciate it. But first of all, I was sworn in on December 1st as the sheriff of DeKalb County, and I'm so excited to be in this seat. Since becoming the sheriff, there are a lot of things that have taken place up under my leadership in December the 1st. But let me just say, prior to becoming sheriff, I was the chief of police at Georgia Piedmont Technical College. I was also the assistant chief of police. I actually helped form that police department, which is still standing to this day and is actually functioning like an oil machine. With that said, I also worked as the DeKalb County police officer. I worked in the crime analysis area. I was the chief of police aide at one time. So I've worked as a master police officer, handling calls on day-to-day on the streets with the DeKalb County Police Department. I have a bachelor's, I have 2 masters. I'm a hostage negotiator, I'm a defensive instructor, and I'm a general instructor, and I teach law enforcement classes. And I'm just, again, originally from Atlanta, Georgia, and I grew up in the DeKalb County area. I own a house in DeKalb County. We have a family house in the Kirkwood area. My grandkids are being educated in DeKalb County. My daughter was educated in DeKalb County, graduating from Redan High School. So as you can see, I'm vetted in DeKalb County. I'm committed to this area, being that I am originally from here, and I continue to stay here, and I'm looking forward to continue to do what I have done as the sheriff. Thank you.
Thank you for that introduction. Ms. Stringer, at this point, would you please take 2 minutes and introduce yourself as a candidate for a sheriff?
Absolutely. Hi, my name is Ruth Stringer, and I would like to thank you for this opportunity. I started my career, you can say, when I was 17 years old. I went into the United States Marine Corps. I served well there 4 years, 2 meritorious masks, hence where I got the name The Truth. I was handling a inspection, and a general, well, he was a lieutenant colonel back then, he walked in, he asked me a specific question. And some people him and hawed with the question. I told him the answer, and he said, I got the truth. So my fellow Marines started joining me, saying, you know, okay, so the truth, here comes the truth. So that's where I got the name Ruth the Truth. I met my husband then, Jimmy Stringer. We've been married for 35 years now. We have 4 children, Solomon, Selena, Jimmy, and Diamond. I started my career with the sheriff's office soon after I left the Marine Corps. I started from the bottom as a detention officer. I worked my way up through the ranks. I learned every aspect of that agency. I went to the professional management program, which is put on with Columbia State University, and I graduated. I am a general instructor. I am a certified voice analyzer. I supervised every division in that agency. I was also over the Office of Professional Standards. I was in the Human Resource Division, so I'm well vested in the agency. I have a passion for the sheriff's office because I've watched it go through so many changes. I am here not because I need to do this to be the sheriff. I'm here as a concerned citizen, as someone who can make changes in that sheriff's office, the changes that need to be made. I think that given the opportunity, we're at a crossroads now, and given the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stringer, for that introduction. And Ms. Maddox, we'll come back to you for the first question of our forum. What is your vision for the Sheriff's Department?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. My vision for the DeKalb Sheriff's Office is to become the model agency for the nation for justice reform. We're talking about community policing, reducing recidivism. As you can see, I've already started some of those things for my vision. And that all started on December the 1st. And we now have a community policy review board, which was implemented on last month, considering the state that we are in our city. But we also we're looking forward to making sure that we have community events. The thing is with us, we need to make sure that we listen to the community. We have to be out there and be in it. I've already done that. I've been in this community. I know the community. I know all the leaders and those that are all these stakeholders that are at the community. And we want to make sure that we involve the community into the sheriff's office. And again, make this the model agency for justice reform. And we have already started.
Thank you for that. Ms. Stringer, what is your vision for the Sheriff's Department?
My vision for the sheriff's office is for it to become the sheriff's office that it should be, for the sheriff to really be the top cop in DeKalb County. DeKalb County needs to be healed and it needs to be restored. We need to start looking at the blight in DeKalb and connecting how crime and blight go together. DeKalb County has to move forward. We need to be premier and optimal. My vision for DeKalb County Sheriff's Office is for us to be the go-to agency in the state of Georgia. I want us to be recognized and recommended whenever there's a call for a law enforcement agency to come forth and speak. While I recognize that there's a lot of things that we could be jumping in bouncy houses with the kids in the community, there's a bigger issue in DeKalb County. We have our crime rate is extremely high, and I don't know if you've been watching the news, but it's been rising. Shootings are going up, muggings are going up, carjackings, everything in DeKalb is going up.
Thank you, Ms. Maddox. Ms. Stringer, excuse me. Question number 2, Ms. Stringer, we'll come back to you so that we can alternate, so each candidate gets the beginnings to do it first or second. So, Ms. Stringer, please identify your top priority when elected and describe your plan to address this priority.
My top priority when elected into that sheriff's office is to deal with the infrastructure of that agency. It must be dealt with immediately because health issues are at stake, not only for the officers, but for the inmates. As quiet as it's kept and as much as it's trying to be ignored, the coronavirus is inside that sheriff's office. I got several letters from officers, emails from people who have left inmates. One guy took it home and infected his 80-year-old grandmother. There's an officer who since left the sheriff's office. He's down at Grady now. He took it home and infected his family. That sheriff's office is becoming a hot spot in DeKalb County because we're trying to keep silent about it. And that must be addressed immediately. And unfortunately, that mold issue is still on the rise in that sheriff's office, and it has to be addressed. It's going to cost us as taxpayers a small fortune when the inmates and the officers start suing because of the mold issue. It has to be addressed. It cannot be ignored. You can't keep walking around with the and acting as if these two things do not exist. And in hand, it could be catastrophic for the citizens. As I said, the coronavirus is a hot spot right now. The jail is a hot spot. Look at it as red.
That's time. Ms. Maddox, please identify your top priority when elected and describe your plan to address this priority.
And let me just say this, I'm already in office. So I've already been elected as the sheriff, the constitutional officer for the state. But I just want to say my top priority, which I started again on December 1st, is to go in and make sure that those employees, number one, are taken care of and treating them with respect. And one thing about it, I found that if you treat the employees with dignity and respect, what they're going to do is go and treat those inmates with dignity and respect. And on the contrary, what's being said that crime is going up. Well, the only thing that's really going up is right now, which is a part of crime, which is the domestic violence. And we are addressing those with endeavoring on those warrants, as you can see, as we try to. But we want to also make sure that as far as the COVID is concerned, we do address that. And we are making sure, and we have a handle on it. As we speak, we're on a 14-day quarantine period right now throughout the whole jail to make sure that we stop the spread of COVID. And we put out a weekly report to give an update as to what is going on with COVID in the sheriff's office.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ms. Maddox, we'll come back to you as we're alternating these questions. We've heard about your top priority. Now, what do you consider to be the biggest challenge facing the Sheriff's Department today? And describe your plan for correction to this challenge.
Well, the challenge right now is going to be having everybody to understand what the roles and responsibilities are for the DeKalb County Sheriff's Office. But in addition to that, and that's just to educate people in the community for what we do. But also the biggest challenge right now is facing us, and that is a pandemic. We know that it's out there, that it's there, and we want to make sure that the employees are safe. We want to make sure the inmates are safe. As was said, we want to make sure that we treat everybody so that they will not take this sickness home to their family. And we are doing such to make sure that we counteract that as we speak. So yes, that's one of my biggest challenges, but we are handling it, and we're handling it to the best.
Thank you. And let's see, Ms. Stringer, we've heard your top priority. What do you consider to be the biggest challenge facing the Sheriff's Department today? And describe your plan for correction. Ms. Stringer, you're still muted. Okay.
The biggest challenge for the sheriff's office, in my opinion, outside of the pandemic right now, of course, as I said, I saw a tent city in DeKalb County for the first time since I've been here. I've been here over 35 years, and I saw a tent city being erected. So we're going to have to address what's going on inside of DeKalb. Not only that, but the crime that's going up. The biggest problem I see right now is we have to get all the law enforcement agencies at one table, and we have to come up with a succinct plan on how we're going to deal with the crime in DeKalb so that we're all doing it at the same time together, knocking it out, so that if it's Avondale Estates, Pine Lake, Chamblee, Doerville, we're all on one team and we're knocking it out so that DeKalb County does not become a dysfunctional county. The top cop needs to get everyone at the table, which I intend to do, and make sure we make DeKalb County the premier county that it should be.
Thank you. Again, as we continue to alternate who starts with the question, the next question, Ms. Stringer, will come back to you. The runoff election on August 11th is technically an interim position and will expire on December 31st. Given this timeline, which of your goals can be met, and what do you plan to do to achieve those goals?
The forensic audit, which I definitely plan on doing, that goal can be met, and getting the GBI in to investigate certain things, that can be done. Putting the classification system back together and correct so that inmates that aren't supposed to be mixed with certain inmates aren't mixed together, I can correct that. I can also make sure that when inmates are locked down, and I think that's a great thing, the 14 days, but unfortunately, as you know, about 2 weeks ago, we had an inmate to commit suicide while being locked down on this COVID 14-day cycle. So we have to get in and address those type issues. We have to make sure that the inmates are safe, the officers are safe. As I said, I will definitely go in and make sure that the forensic audit is done so your tax dollars are accounted for. I'll make sure the GBI and the FBI, whoever else needs to be there, is invited in, because they have to be invited in. And I will make sure that you citizens get the reports that you need from those agencies.
Thank you. Ms. Maddox, the runoff election on August 11th is technically an interim position and will expire December 31st. Given this timeline, Which of your goals can be met, and what do you plan to do to achieve those goals?
Well, as I said before, my goals have, we've already started that. And let me just say something in reference to an audit being done. We have an audit is always done for the agency. And in reference to having the GBI to come in, and I will have to say to my opponent that I've asked them several times if you know of any impropriety that's being taken, going on at the sheriff's office, to please produce it to the GBI or the district attorney, whoever it is that you want to speak to. Because what's happening, we're wasting taxpayers' money to sit here and say that, you know, that there's something going on and try to think that it's going to be corrected in 4 months. It cannot be corrected. And let me say, if there's anything that's going on that has gone on, it took place prior to December the 1st. I took office on December the 1st. So if it was up under the leadership of which she was already there for the 30 years, up under the 2 past sheriffs or the several sheriffs prior to, I'm sorry. But as far as
Thank you. And Ms. Maddox, we'll return to you for this next question. Budgets and transparencies are important to taxpayers. Please describe the top 3 fiscal priorities.
Number one, we want to make the fiscal priorities. We want to make sure that those employees are taken up, that they are getting paid what they should be paid, so that we can go against other agencies that are out there that are, when we're all pulling from the same pool at this time. And number 2, we want to make sure that the medical part of it, that the the inmates are taken care of properly and getting the proper medical care as they have been doing with our well path. And number 3, we want to make sure that the building, we have to make sure that technology is in place. As we speak, we have just received the award from Tyler Technologies for having top technology within the DeKalb County Sheriff's Office. We have remote visits, as well as also handling our cases now remotely without having the movement of the inmates, which keeps us, again, keeping that COVID at bay, having to move those inmates around. So those are the top 3, and they are for the budget. And again, they are already in place and have been doing exceedingly well.
Thank you. Ms. Stringer, budgets and transparencies are important to taxpayers. Please describe the top 3 fiscal priorities.
I want to say the Tyler technology and the ability to not have to take inmates to court. I'm glad that's up and running, because that was implemented prior to the current sheriff being there. So the top priorities will be, of course, the employee. You have to take care of them. I would like to also ask the commissioners to look at the healthcare costs that our employees have to pay, because across the board, across the state, the amount we pay is extremely high compared to what other law enforcement agencies have to pay as their copay. Infrastructure is very important to me in that sheriff's office. As I can't emphasize enough, the mold, the building, the chillers, you know, all the things that are happening inside that building, they need to be addressed, and they need to be addressed. The third thing that's a big issue with me, of course, will be community outreach. I think that the sheriff's office has an obligation to do certain things inside the community. As I said, the tent cities,
It's time.
those are big budget items, and they need to be dealt with.
Thank you. Our last question, and Ms. Stringer will stay with you to answer this question first, our final question. In your opinion, do we have enough personnel to support your goals? And do you have a plan to retain current staff and to attract quality new hires?
In my opinion, we do not have enough staff to achieve my goals. And that has nothing to do with anyone in particular. It's just the sign of the times that we live in. And unfortunately, little kids are not growing up saying they want to be police officers anymore, or law enforcement anymore. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to make it more attractive. We're gonna have to change the entire image of the sheriff's office and get back to what people knew police officers as, or law enforcement officers as. We were friendly community helpers. And that's going to have to be what we're going to have to get back to. Kids are going to have to look up to us with honor and respect. I did serve in the background in recruitment for a while, so I know that recruiting is harsh. We're going to have to go all across this country, and we're going to have to recruit. We're going to have to get on those military bases. We're going to have to get into those high schools and colleges, and we're going to have to convince these youngsters that this is the way to go. The police office, always remember, law enforcement is that thin blue line between anarchy and chaos.
Thank you. And for our last question, for Ms. Maddox, in your opinion, do we have enough personnel to support your goals? And do you have a plan to retain current staff and to attract high quality new hires?
You can never have, to me, enough individuals in law enforcement. As you know, we're in these trying times, and it's one of those things that really wants to be in law enforcement at this time. But let me tell you something that I have personally done since being in the sheriff's office. I personally go out and recruit myself. Before COVID hit, I was already in the high schools and recruiting, and I walk around. And like you said, we're gonna have to travel. We're gonna have to be diverse in the process as well and bring in. But we also, it goes back to good leadership. We can go out there and we can recruit all we want to. But if you don't have the right leadership in place in order to groom those individuals, to mentor those individuals, to train those individuals, but to also make sure they have a heart and a passion for what it is that they want to do, then nothing else is going to be good. So as far as my goals are concerned, I'm still working towards my goal. And one of my biggest goals is once this COVID is over, is to continue to do the recruitment that I have already done.
Thank you. And thank you to the two candidates thus far for answering our questions as we rotated back and forth. We appreciate your time. What we will do now is, staying with our rotation, we will allow and provide for 2 minutes for each candidate to summarize and add any final conclusion, topics, and points of interest they would like. So Ms. Maddox, we will stay with you. If you would, take 2 minutes and provide any closing comments.
Also, in with
Must be having some technical difficulties. Let's give her 1 second.
Stephen, are we?
Yeah, I think something must have happened with her connection.
Okay.
I didn't hear any of her last moment. I don't know. Did anybody else hear it?
I heard her introduction, and then that was all that I heard. So I just, at first, I'll be honest, at first I thought it was my computer that was having trouble. And so
Same here. So let's come back to her. Maybe it'll connect again for her.
okay.
I don't know what. I know that it actually was saying that she had low bandwidth. I don't know exactly, you know.
Okay.
It
Well-
looks like she just dropped off, so, go ahead.
Understood. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, we want to try to make sure that we're, fair and provide, equal opportunities for both candidates. So if she comes back on, we'll hopefully provide that opportunity for her. But in the meantime, while we wait, Ms. Stringer, if you would take 2 minutes, provide any closing comments or any additional comments you wish to add.
Asking DeKalb County that you do something different this time. Remember, every sheriff we've had in the last 70 years has been arrested. This will be the first time a sheriff, if you like me, has actually worked their way through the ranks and actually understands the sheriff's office. I'm not in there for any personal gain. Know that my time is short when I get in. I'll be there for you, the taxpayers. I am that person that will go in there and make sure a real forensic audit is done. I will go in. No one will have to direct me as to what the GBI has to look at. I will direct the GBI exactly where they need to go. All those cases that were mishandled, all the civil rights violations, all the misappropriation of funds, I can direct them that way. I am there for you, the taxpayers. I can put something in place, start with the commissioners to get the officers so that at least the sergeants and below are covered by the merit system. We're losing a lot of our employees because they don't feel like they have job protection, and it's not fair. So after working there 30 years, I am telling you that this is something that needs to be done. We need to put that sheriff's office on a trajectory for positive growth, and the only way to do that is to put someone in who is willing to get in there, roll up their sleeves, and get the job done. Someone who has the experience. I did serve as your interim sheriff, and I do know what needs to be done. I've done it for you before, and I'll do it for you again. You didn't hear a lot from me when I was in that office as sheriff because I was in there doing my job, and that's what a sheriff should do. So I'm asking you to go out and vote for Ruth, the Truth Stringer, because you need the truth. It's paramount in times like these on August 11th, 2020. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Again, I'd like to thank you all for participating in our candidates forum. And at this point, I would like to turn it over to,
Jonathan, yeah, there must have been some kind of technical issue, so.
absolutely. Glad you're able to make it back. So please, at this time, Ms. Maddox, if you would take 2 minutes and go ahead and provide us any closing and additional comments you would like.
Yes, absolutely. First of all, I want to thank you all and the residents of DeKalb County, as well as the Tucker Civic Business Association, for allowing me to serve as your sheriff, and I would look forward to continuing to serve as your sheriff. And as I said, on December the 1st, when I took office, my motto was a change gonna come. A change already came when I raised my right hand and took that oath. And I walked in the office doing a top to bottom review. We have since been ACA certified, NCCHC, CALEA, all those are acronyms, which means we are certified through the American Correctional Association, Tyler Technologies Award. I'm dealing with the pandemic. I'm dealing with unrest in the community. But as you can see, I am still handling and I'm still doing the job, as well as still maintaining my relationship in the community, as well as with the CEOs, the commissioners, and all of some of you leaders that are here. So I'm asking for your vote on August the 11th, that you go out and vote and to continue so that I may continue to be your sheriff and do the job that I have been doing, and to bring my experience, my knowledge as a police chief, as an assistant police chief, as a DeKalb County police officer, as a negotiator, as a defensive tactics instructor, as well as a community liaison. And I just ask that you come out, go to my website, www.sheriffmelodymaddox.com, and vote Sheriff Melody Maddox to stay as your sheriff. And I look forward to continuing to work with you all. And thank you so much again for this opportunity.
Thank you. At this time, that concludes all of our questions and opportunities. I do appreciate the candidates and all of the attendees in the audience for their participation. We hope you found this meaningful, and I would like to turn it over to Ms. Vandercreek as she will close out our event for this first half of our candidate forum.
I'm just adding her back in. Okay, there you go, honey. Oh, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Feel like a Verizon commercial. I'd like to tell the chief and Ms. Stringer how much we appreciate the fact that they've taken times out of their lives to help DeKalb County grow. We appreciate all of the emphasis and the time and everything that you have done in order to make DeKalb safer, and we do appreciate it. So thank you very much. Now, I'd like to introduce, I don't know where Representative Henson went. Our next one, we're going to be speaking to the Democratic runoff for State House District 86. The two candidates, the incumbent is Michele Henson, and her opponent is Zulma Lopez. And so, Jonathan, it's back to you.
Okay, very good. And Stephen, I do apologize. Across the top and all of do we have both candidates here? I know we had the two individuals before and they were sort of across the top of my screen. Are Ms. Henson and Ms. Lopez?
They're here.
They're here?
They're both here.
Fantastic, thank you. As we proceeded earlier, we will follow a very similar, same format. The questions will change. However, these questions also were developed by the members of the Tucker Civic Association and the Tucker Business Association as we sought feedback from our communities to provide questions to the candidates. If you have additional questions, it's not covered in the material that we address here. We strongly recommend that you reach out to the individual candidates' campaign program so that you can get those questions asked. We will not have an opportunity for questions to be asked here other than the 6 questions we're going to ask the individual candidates. Each candidate will be provided 2 minutes to introduce themselves, and then we will go through our 6 questions, and each candidate will be provided 1 minute to answer each question, and we will alternate who gets to begin the question or start the question first and then the second question. And at the end, we will have an additional 2 minutes for each candidate to add any summary or closing comments. With that in mind, Ms. Henson, if you would, please take 2 minutes and introduce yourself as a candidate for the State House District 86 position.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the Tucker Civic Association and the Tucker Business Association for hosting this forum. And I really got to say, I miss being there with you all and being out on the streets of Tucker at your different functions and parades. I've been in Georgia over 40 years, in DeKalb County for over 40 years. And I started in the hospitality industry with the hotels. And then I ended up in the dental field where I ran dental practices and up to 4 separate dental practices. At that point, I learned a lot about Medicaid and about other aspects of dentistry and insurance. And I also had my own small picture framing business at one time. Been involved in Democratic politics since I started in DeKalb County, since this is a Democratic primary I'm in. And other organizations I've been involved with as one of the founders and still involved in PRISM, which is overlays the Greater Memorial Drive corridor, and organization that advocates for the area. I'm on the board of Oakhurst, which is your health, and on the board of ArtStation, Brits and Culture. Been a legislator for 30 years. And I feel I have a very good overview of the county because I started representing all the way from Rockdale County, which is another county, up to Avondale. So I've represented quite a few of the cities over the years and understand the cities and counties positions. I've worked a lot with different aspects of cities and the counties. I've passed quite a bit of local legislation and worked on others. One of the main things I did on behalf of cities was the double taxation. At one time, they were taxed double for services. I was told you could never fix it. And I didn't believe that. So I said, we're having a meeting, and called everyone together, and we had a meeting. And you know,
It's time.
that's 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
2
ma'am.
minutes.
Wow, I'm sorry. Let me just say thanks.
Thank you for that. Ms. Lopez, if you would take 2 minutes and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for hosting us and for having me. My name is Zulma Lopez. I am a first-time candidate for office, and I'm running to represent you on District 86, which encompasses some parts of Tucker. I live not too far from your city. I am an immigration attorney. I've been a resident of DeKalb County and District 86 for 13 years. It's the only place that I have lived in the state of Georgia. And I'm also I have my own office. I am a small business owner. So like you, I truly understand what we're going through this COVID-19 pandemic on the business side. And I am a parent of 4 children who have either attended, graduated, or are attending in the fall in just a couple of weeks at DeKalb Public Schools. So I am close to the issues that are you and your residents are facing as we try to weather this storm of COVID-19. I think this is the primary issue, the main concern that we all have in our minds. I bring a new perspective, new fresh ideas, and a background that is sorely needed in the state capitol. I ask for your vote. We're currently under early voting. Please vote at the Tucker Library is the closest one that we have in this area. Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to this conversation.
Thank you for that. And as mentioned before, we're going to go through our 6 questions, and we will alternate candidates who are read the questions first, and each candidate will receive 1 minute so that they can answer the question. Ms. Lopez, we will stay with you. The first question, please describe your vision of a state representative's role in state government.
Thank you. I see the role, technically it's a 3-month out of the year where we are in session at the Capitol, but it's a year-round responsibility. And one is the having the responsibility to make sure that we fight for the laws that help individuals like you and me, but also the role with the community, which is very, very important to continue that all throughout the year and make sure that we communicate, that we continue to keep the residents informed of what's going on. And so I look forward to that aspect in the next 6 months, which we are handling communication primarily via Zoom meetings and via social distancing, but keeping the residents informed is critical, particularly during this crisis where we are seeing changes on a day-to-day basis. And when the General Assembly convenes in January, we are going to see a very different session that we've seen before. We are going to be dealing with critical issues, a shortage of budget.
Thank you for that.
Would you repeat the question, please?
Yes, ma'am. And thank you for that clarification. I will repeat the question before each candidate has an opportunity to speak as we go through these 6. So thank you for that clarification, Ms. Henson. Ms. Henson, please describe your vision of a state representative's role in state government.
My role, and the most important thing I have to do, is the budget. That is the only thing that by law we're required to do. And I'm on appropriations, which is a very powerful committee, and therefore can work hard to bring revenues to DeKalb County and to Tucker. I also believe the roles of a legislator is to represent their constituents, to help them navigate through the difficulty of bureaucracy, to represent the counties and the cities down at the legislature. This coming year is going to be difficult, and I believe my experience and my knowledge will be best served, or will best serve the district at the Capitol. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Henson, we'll stay with you for our next question. Please advise us, what is your top priority if elected?
My top priority when I'm elected is to work with my fellow legislators, specifically the Democrats, and raise revenues, something we're very remiss at this past year. We need to expand Medicaid to ensure affordable and accessible health care for our citizens, and also to keep rural hospitals and other small hospitals from closing, as just happened today. We need to increase the tax on tobacco and alcohol. Civil justice reform is incredibly important, and we've already started working on it. The hate crime bill passed, citizens arrests, they've already have a committee starting on it. The no chokehold bill, I'm the second signature on it. And those are the main things that I believe that we need to be doing down at the Capitol this coming session, the most important. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lopez, please advise, what is your top priority if elected?
That would be supporting small business owners as myself. I went through the process of the PPP loan, and I'm looking forward to that forgiveness phase, which is a very complicated and confusing one. And I think that we need to support small businesses that are struggling, that are trying to weather the storm, and that there's absolutely critical for our economic to move forward in these economic thriving times, along with supporting parents like myself in the next coming school year. We know that our children are going to be struggling, and we know that we need additional funding to support our public school system.
Thank you. Ms. Lopez, we will stay with you for this next question to start. What do you consider to be the biggest challenge facing you and your district today?
I would say that COVID-19, it's on everyone's mind. It is what I hear from constituents, from voters across the district. From the perspective of a parent, from the perspective of someone that is trying to keep a job or keep a business going, it is what we need to do at the state capitol to make sure that we put individuals first, and that we put our resources to make sure that families are protected, that their health is protected. That's why it's so important to expand Medicaid. That's why it's so important to be creative with funding for public schools. I know that people are struggling, and we tend to put corporations and tax breaks to big corporations first, and not to the individuals that really need it, and small business owners that are really in the grind of making sure that we can continue to have our business going on moving forward. And so I see that's what needs to be done, and I have the experience to do it.
Thank you. Ms. Henson, what do you consider to be the biggest challenge facing you and your district today?
Well, of course, with COVID-19, that's first on everyone's mind. And the challenges for people vary, but right now we're facing possible evictions. We're facing problems with enough food on the table. We are facing people that no longer have a job and are turning to Department of Labor and having no opportunity to get through to them, and protecting working families. What we're doing as legislators is we've been dealing with DOL. We work with them. We send all the names and everyone's information over to them that comes to us for help. We'll be collaborating with other departments, with the counties. So a lot of grants come through from the federal to the county, and that's where we can work with them. And the collaboration is essential between all elected officials and departments. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And Ms. Henson, we'll stay with you for this next question. And this is a follow-up question. Now that you have identified your biggest challenge, please describe your plan to meet this challenge and overcome this challenge.
Are you referring to the challenge in our district, or are you referring to the priority that we are having down at the legislature?
It's a follow-up question to the previous one where you identified your biggest district facing you, your challenge facing you in your district today. The question is, now that you've identified that, what is your plan to overcome that?
The things that I'm already started doing and will continue doing, and that is collaborating, being a resource to my constituents, helping them navigate their way through the system, being out and trying to pass on information to constituents on how we can help them, which direction, which are the best agencies that can help their situations. But it's a tough time, and we also need to look at education and what the answers are there and how to keep people safe. Do we do virtual school, or do we send everyone back to school? And those are important. And with that, we also have the issues of providing food for the school children. For so many of them, that's their main meal. So those are areas that we can work within. We can work with different departments and agencies.
Thank you. Ms. Lopez, now that you have identified what your biggest challenges facing you and your district are today, please describe the plan that you have to meet those challenges.
Well, I think that a priority would be to work with local elected officials to find creative avenues of additional funding, for example, for our public school system. So we know that on the past session, close to $1 billion was cut for public school education. And like myself, I'm about in a couple of weeks to have my children start in a virtual school. And we know that parents are struggling with the decision of going to work and perhaps leaving their children at home without supervision because of the online schooling. So that is a priority for me. We need to find creative ways of bringing funding, making sure that we have the bandwidth, that we have the computers available for children, that we have the resources that are needed, because it starts there, because a parent cannot really have peace of mind and be productive at work if everything is falling apart at home with the schooling situation with our children. And so we're seeing that in just a couple of weeks, and I am experiencing that at home. So I bring that perspective as a parent.
Thank you. And Ms. Lopez, we will stay with you for this next question. Budgets and transparencies are very important to taxpayers. Please describe the top 3 fiscal priorities you have for this upcoming session.
Thank you for that. That is critical. We know that when we convene in January 2021, we could potentially see additional, the depletion of the funds that we are receiving because businesses are closing, businesses are no longer able to continue with the strength that we're seeing with the spikes in COVID. So we need to find additional sources of revenue. As a small business owner, I know how to do more with less, and we have to be creative with that. And there's so much opportunity to do that when we look at taxes, when we look at the tax breaks that we give out to big corporations. That wasn't even touched in this session. And we have to push for that if we are going to continue to provide the critical and essential services that we need to provide during a crisis. We see that hospitals are closing, that people are out of jobs, and because of that, they don't have the insurance needed for their health diagnosis and conditions. So we have to expand that funds, and we've not done that in the past session.
Thank you. Ms. Henson, budgets and transparencies are important to taxpayers. Please describe your top 3 fiscal priorities for this upcoming session.
My first priority would be finding revenues to increase our budget. And I've already mentioned them. I would expand Medicaid. I'd put a tax on tobacco and on alcohol. And I'd look at all the corporate tax breaks that we have. It's very, very important to generate the revenues. Then I would restore the $1 billion to education, because that has hurt every single district in the state. And by expanding Medicaid, we'd be able to provide the needed health care for our citizens so that emergency care is not the only care that they know, that we can do preventative care, because that's essential to people. So those would be my top priorities when it comes to the budget.
Thank you. And as we get to our sixth and final question, Ms. Henson, we will start with you. With the recent events and civil unrest, in your opinion, what is the state government's responsibility towards citizens' welfare?
That would be at the executive branch level, and especially the fact that we're not in session now. And I've been very disappointed in the leadership that we've had at the executive level. I think that we have closed up too late, started back too much too soon. We're not looking at masks reasonably, and we haven't provided the leadership. Our State Board of Education hasn't provided the leadership. They could have taken advantage of the time that the schools were closed to teach our teachers how to do virtual school and to prepare them better for that situation. So there's a lot that we need to be doing. And unfortunately, I'm going to say we need to elect new people at the executive level, because the ones that we have aren't providing the leadership. DOL is not doing well, Department of Labor, and I don't feel that our governor is providing the leadership that we need, or State Board of Education and others. So thank you.
Time.
Thank you. Ms. Lopez, with the recent events and civil unrest, in your opinion, what is state government's responsibility for citizens' welfare?
I think that, if it's ever a time for the government to step up, it is in a time of crisis. And we've seen our government utterly failing in that role. It is an opportunity to step up to the plate. Criminal justice reform needs to be at the forefront of our efforts. We need to continue to push for really making sure that we dismantle the mentality of mass incarceration in this state, that we make sure that we continue to protect people from being evicted because of this crisis, that we continue to protect our children from having an excellent public education, that we continue to protect people that are on the insurance gap, because we know that that potentially can triple during this crisis because of the unemployment. So this is the time for our government to step up, and that's what we have been lacking. We need to make sure that we continue to put it forefront and as a priority.
Thank you for that. And thank you for your participation to the two candidates thus far. We have completed the 6 questions that we have provided for you. So at this time, if we may, we would like to take 2 minutes to add any additional closing comments. And Ms. Lopez, we will start with you. If you would please begin and for 2 minutes explain or provide any additional closing comments you wish.
Thank you so much. I hope that this discussion has been good for everyone. I'm a first-time runner. I'm a first-time candidate for office, and I hope that you take away that we need change in DeKalb County. We need change in District 86. I bring a set of skills and fresh ideas to the table that is sorely needed in our county. I'm a parent, I am an immigration attorney, and I fight daily against this administration's cruel policies of separating families from their children. I am a small business owner who is also struggling with what's going on with making sure that my business stays afloat. So I understand what we are all going through, and I will bring that set of skills that is sorely needed in January 2021. And I am asking from your trust and your vote. I will never take your support for granted. We are currently undergoing early voting. So I encourage you to either vote by mail or vote during this week or next week of early voting to make sure that we continue to protect our poll workers and to make the clear choice in this race. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Henson, if you would, please take 2 minutes and provide any closing or summary comments you would like.
Thank you very much for hosting this forum. And it's been a pleasure working with Tucker for over the years and helping to make and create Tucker as a city. I was involved with the placeholder bill. I was involved with the legislation. I was the one who passed the legislation through the House on crossover day, and then worked with the Senate committees, and have worked with other aspects of Tucker. And I shop in Tucker, I dine in Tucker, love Tucker. And I've also been pleased to be honored by the Georgia Municipal Association in Tucker. I have learned over the past 30 years how to be an effective legislator. I pass and I support local and general bills, and success as a legislator is not just based on the number of bills that you pass, but on the number of good bills that you support and help to move through the system, and killing bad bills, and that's a very important part of it. I'm active in my district. I attend civic associations, town hall meetings, homeowners, churches, and other activities. I've already told you the boards that I'm on. I believe in collaboration. I think that's essential with other elected officials and with citizens, and forming committees and working together for common goals. They're very, very important. This past year, a very quick thing that we pulled together is opposing a crematory on Memorial Drive. Amazing how fast you could pull people together for a common cause, and I was very delighted to be part of it. I have experience. I'm respected down at the Capitol. The steady leadership is important, especially during a pandemic, and I'm that leader. And I ask for your support and your vote in this runoff on August 11th. And you can vote early at Tucker, or you can send in an absentee ballot. So thank you so very much.
Thank you for that. And I would like to, at this point, say thank you to all of our candidates who have been with us this evening. And Mary, thank you for timekeeping duties. Well done. And it's a very interesting format that we presented tonight with, the technology, and glad we were able to provide this for you. And at this point, I will turn it over to Ms. Vandercreek, and we will close out our session.
I'd like to thank all the candidates tonight. Thank you so much. I also appreciate the fact that we ran just a couple of minutes over. Last time we ran a little bit short. We did it much quicker, but we did that one live. So I'm hoping that that the attendees understand what a difficult job of running for office is and maintaining the welfare for the constituents in their district. So it's a monumental job, and it's huge, and I appreciate the two of you taking this challenge on. I appreciate the passion that you've shown for this. Now, on Thursday night, the 30th, we will be having, TCA and TBA will be hosting another candidates forum, this time for the DeKalb County Commissioners. Super District 6 has got a runoff, and also District 1 has a runoff. So we hope that you will go in and register for that, and that we'll see you again on Thursday evening. And I can't thank you all enough for being so patient for all these little technical glitches, but you know what? It'll be better the next time. We all learn every time. Thank you again. We really appreciate it. So good night, and enjoy the rest of your evening.